Now, after an impressive show during the just-ended back-to-back clash against Namibia in a Group J AFCON Qualifiers, Warriors coach Mike O'Nees says he's not reading much into the past game as he is already focusing on the next match against Kenya. Zimbabwe is currently second in Group J with 8 points, and a draw against Kenya will see them qualify for the 2025 AFCON to be played in Morocco. Let's hear more in the following interview.
We're not falling into this trap. We take it from game to game, from training to training as before. The thing is, you cannot think on the second step before you do the first step. I repeat, I said that quite a couple of times. I think that's number one problem for Zimbabwe football. The same you had in COSAFA Cup. The same was in June when you played against Lesotho, South Africa. It looked like you only thought on South Africa and you forgot Lesotho. I think you have quite a good history of thinking always on the second step, and then and suddenly you realize, oh, I should have made the first step. We know the opponent, Kenya. This is going to be a tough game. We take it there. We don't think now. Of course, you know you need a point, but you cannot go in a match like you have a certain strategy. You see how they play. How we play, you look to use your own strength and you try to exploit the weakness from the other team.
Okay, now coach, there's been an issue of us having, there are players that are based in the United Kingdom, some are in South Africa, where both they've got chances of, playing for Zimbabwe also, but they haven't featured for Zimbabwe. We've got an example, Trainion, who is featuring for Liverpool. He's got a chance of playing for either England or maybe Zimbabwe. And we've seen you making efforts, to lure some of these players. Like, we've seen you luring Beckham Abillard from international retirement. You were also making engagement with Knowledge Msona, not knowing any efforts, to try and lure players like Trainion, especially when the social media went abuzz when he commented on Zimbabwe's win. And everyone was like, it seems like, the carrot that we are dangling of winning is working on Trainion, not knowing any efforts, to get in touch with him or his agents, his players, or his management, to try and, bring him on board also.
Well, the social media is not a shadow coach. If the social media would be the coach, our national team would look completely different. Completely. And that's not the case. We know the hype, we know, and this, we have a long list of players who could play for Zimbabwe, with older players, younger players. When you approach a player, you must take into consideration many aspects: the position, the potential if he's a young player, the previous performances if he's an older player. But what you need to show them is a pathway. Where does it fit? It doesn't make sense to bring a player for one game. That is not fair towards the players, and it's not convincing to them either. You must have a certain strategy. I mean, these young players you mentioned, there are a few of them. They're very talented, very good, and we know them. And but it is clear if we approach them, we need to have a certain plan for them. It's to bring in the team. And of course, a player needs to have the desire to play for Zimbabwe. If they have dual citizenship, my family also has dual citizenship. You're sometimes a little bit in between, and we need to find out at the right time, do this player really want to play for Zimbabwe? Really want. Not just see it as a backdoor if it doesn't work for this country or that country. Do they really want to play for Zimbabwe? That's the first thing. And then how do we, from a strategic plan, bring them in? Such young players, they might have to play a role in the Warrior squad for maybe the next 10 years. Yeah. So you need to have a proper pathway to show them. Yeah? And is this the right time right now? Having a game without much training in November against Kenya and a few days later against Cameroon? That's what we are asking ourselves. Is this the right time or not? I'm engaged with all the players, even with the older ones. Some personally, the others we're still observing. And we will not forget any good player, which we think he would fit from different aspects into the team.